And we are live. It is Tuesday night. And before we get started, I would like to deliver a warm greeting to you. Good evening. This is Stoppage Time FC. Ron, Pep Guardiola, a.k.a. Extend Guardiola. Chelsea Proud. Zach is here. Trav is here. The beautiful game never ceases to amaze, nor does it ever fail us for stories and headlines. And we got a lot to talk about over this next 45 minutes. So let's get right to it. We'll start with today and kind of work backwards and work forward. Let's start with one of the biggest upsets in recent Champions League history. Villarreal, currently sitting 7th in La Liga, upset Bayern Munich 1-1, 2-1 on aggregate. The magic of knockout competition, and my man Unai Emery does it again. Joe, where do we start?
Hey, that's a gigantic result for Villarreal to move into the semifinals. First time, I think, since mid-2000s that they've been this far in the Champions League. And Bayern was one of the favorites going into this competition. They run roughshod through Germany, that front three that they have, and the depth of that squad, you would expected them to maybe not comfortably move through, but you would have expected them to win this tie. And for them to lose to Villarreal, who only had 2 shots on goal, and that was enough to win over 2 legs. They had 2 shots on goal the whole 180 minutes and put them both past Neuer and came away with a win. So
that's 100% completion rate, fellas.
That they only gave up 1 to Lewandowski, Gnabry, Sané, Mueller. I mean, the names of that Bayern have on that squad compared to the names you see on paper with Villarreal. It's no contest on paper, but that's why you play the games. And that's why we love these knockout competitions to see who comes out on top after 90 minutes, and in this case 180 minutes over a home and home. So good on you, Unai, for continuing to show your mettle in European competitions, be it the Europa League or today in the Champions League.
I'm going to go to Zach here shortly, but if you look, as Joe talked about the names on this Villarreal team, Albert Moreno, backup left back from Liverpool 2-3 years ago. Francis Coquelin, Arsenal washout. Like, these are not people that you are waiting on transfer news to break for.
They got some Tottenham cast-offs there too with Lo Celso and Serge Aurier.
Mm-hmm.
Lo Celso, Serge Aurier.
Lo Celso's on loan though, isn't he?
I believe so.
But it's Fonte. Fonte, who was from Tottenham.
Yep. Jose Fonte.
He literally has like 7 or 8 Premier League washouts. And I mean washouts, like dudes who were not good in the Premier League at all, who have gone there. And when it comes to these cup competitions, like, if Unai would be dangerous if he was like if he was an American sports manager, Unai would be dangerous. Because all he want to do is get to the playoffs. He don't care about he doesn't care about the regular season. Just give me the playoffs and I'll do my thing. But shout out to my man Good Evening, aka the Vampire, aka Dracula. he got this cup thing to a T.
You know him well.
Listen, Unai's problem with Arsenal was the language barrier was too much. And he just, the language they never got past it, lost the locker room. But I'll be damned if he don't know what he's doing when it comes to these X's and O's and how to get through these competitions. Or Unai knows what he's doing.
He's a tactically smart manager that he doesn't get enough credit for. And, the reason that he sits 7th in La Liga right now is for the exact reason that you already said. He's got a bunch of misfit toys, that have been cast off and played with, and now they're they don't want to be played with anymore. So it's one of those things that on they say on any given Sunday, that this can happen, especially when you have a cup competition. And truth be told, though, if we're going to talk about that game, I know I was heavily invested in the other game that was going on, but I went back and watched the highlights from that match. Lewandowski's lucky he stayed on. He had two fouls back to back within 3 minutes of each other. Got a yellow on the first time, and then somehow for almost an identical foul, did not get a yellow the second time. And he would have been off at like 35, 36 minutes. So, Bayern better count their blessings, because it could have got real ugly then.
Yeah. Yeah, Unai, man, he just, what they call it, a master class. And he puts them in cup competition. He does this. He's won Europa League 3 years in a row. He got Villarreal last season. He did us in real bad in the Europa League semi last year. They were undermanned against Man United in the Europa League final last year. He won that. Like, this is just his thing. He is with no disrespect, a cup manager. Like this, he's good at this, and shout out to him. So
on a final note on that match, that could be potentially Lewandowski's last hurrah in the Champions League. If rumors are to be believed that he is ready to apply his trade elsewhere and potentially move over to Barcelona, because he and Xavi have been pounding it up apparently.
Zach knows this too. When the dude is ready to leave, that's what they do, stuff like what he did today. When you're ready to go, you commit the fouls he committed. You do stuff like that. So shout out to Villarreal. Now, let's get to the match. And I want to say this. Now, usually, we have our jokes. We have our fun. I have no banter for Zach today. The reason I don't have banter is because Chelsea played so well. Like, it's not even I'm not even trying to be funny. When you talk about leaving it all out there, Zach, I'm gonna let you handle this, because I have no criticism of Chelsea today. None.
The only criticism I have of Chelsea today is, and it's actually funny because right before I logged in here, I hopped on Stoppage Time, and one of our members, Aaron, posted it, and I was like, wow, it's almost like telepathy. Chelsea substitutes today let them down. To watch 11 men, and I literally mean 11 men, give it everything they have for 90 plus minutes, and to watch damn near every sub that came in just not want it. They didn't want it the same. And Chelsea subs let them down, and that's Real's didn't. And that was the main difference. Rodrigo had a really nice goal. I was talking with Joe before the match, because after that first match, 3-1 at home, a lot of people were like, "Oh, they're toast." And I was like, "No, not this team. This is not the team you count out." I told Joe, I said, they may not win it, but I'll be damned if this isn't one of the most exciting matches that will go down, in Champions League history. And it did not disappoint. The slimmest of errors in that Marcus Alonso handball and we don't go to extra time, and Chelsea win that match in regular time, winning 4-0.
It was a perfect game plan. It was a perfect lineup. It was the intensity they played. Literally, the Marcus Alonso handball, which I wish was questionable. That's the only thing they did. That's the only thing they did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Was a handball that is shaky, but they were perfect.
Mm-hmm.
They did everything right, and it takes it gets one great cross from Vinicius to the best player on the world, right? The guy who's probably the best player in the world right now. And but other than that, Chelsea were flawless, really.
It took a worldie from Modric to put that ball on a dime for Rodrigo too, from 25 yards away with the outside of your foot like that to land like that. There's not much you can do. I mean, you can't do anything about that when a guy puts it on a dime like that. And for a substitute like Rodrigo was on the pitch for what, a minute or two, to be that almost being your first touch off of your shin, because he didn't hit that ball clean. If you watch the replay, it came off of his shin, not his foot. So he even mishit it, and it just went in the right place. And I found it real interesting. That when Zach sent me the lineup, I mean, Chelsea predominantly plays a different system than they played today. So for them to come out and dominate the first half and play so hard in a system that they're not unfamiliar with, but not one that they play game in, game out. It's just kudos for them to show that kind of heart. And Zach has let me know recently of some of the behind the scenes stuff that's going on, obviously with the sale of the club going on and some of the personal life issues, some of the coaching staff and the players are going through to come together like they did in a really hostile environment in the Bernabeu to put on that kind of performance and then have it snatched from you from Benzema like that at the end. It's heartbreaking for Chelsea players and their fans. And I wish I could say something differently to Zach, but you know, I was there not 2 weeks ago with Carolina losing in the championship. So I understand.
It's one of those things like there's nothing that can be said to a single player, to a single fan that makes that pain go away when you lose like that, especially after literally just dominating every aspect of that game, albeit for maybe a 3-minute span early in the match. Other than that, they were flawless, and they did something today that I had not seen them do all year. They played a morphing formation. So the formation was a back four, which Joe and I kind of are in agreement that is actually going to be, at least in my eyes, that's the way forward for Chelsea is this back four. I think they need to segue away from the back three. But I think they can do exactly what they did today and play this kind of morphing back four, back three formation. And what we saw happen was, and it was absolutely brilliant. So as they attacked, Reece James, the right back, kind of fell back into a third center back role. So they had Silva in the middle, Rudiger on the left, and Reece James on the right. Ruben Loftus-Cheek kind of floated over to a right wing back role. You had Marcus Alonso on the left, and then you had Kovacic and Conte in the middle. And that was their attacking formation. I was really worried, because after the first match, Vinicius just ran all over Andreas Christensen. And Andreas better get comfy real quick, because if the contract that he signed allegedly is true, he's going to be seeing a lot of Vinicius all up in his face a lot of the time. So I was really worried when, Reece was out there, not because of his defending ability. His defending ability is world class. But I was worried that the same thing would happen and Vinicius would get in behind and just kind of dominate it. But I saw a lot of restraint from Reece James, because you could see like he'd get the ball at his feet and he'd want to take off. He'd want to push forward and make that deep run, but he didn't. And that was the reason that you saw Chelsea dominate that match. Unfortunately, as we all know, you can dominate matches all you want, and sometimes the score still doesn't go your way.
Yeah, and that's the thing about two leg football, is that what happens in match one matters really in match two. But shout out to Chelsea. I was, I was really impressed with them. Now we're gonna bring Trav into the combo a little bit, because this past Sunday, very rarely do matches live up to what they're supposed to be. But this Manchester City Liverpool this past Sunday was everything. If you've never watched a full football match, this was the one to watch, and it was everything that I thought it was going to be. Joe and Trav, Joe, I'm going to come back to you. Man City 2, Liverpool 2. As a neutral, I loved it, and I was jealous, because watching Arsenal play and then watching that was like watching black and white TV and then watching HD. It's not the same thing. So Joe, talk to me about the match. Trav, I know Trav, you're still relatively new to the sport, but I know Trav was tuned in. Talk to me about it.
Before we go into it, got Alfonso Williams. He's off in the comments in the YouTube. He was basically saying that he agreed with Zach as far as like the guys in Chelsea, the people that were subbing in for him. They didn't have the same energy. They was like they were just in the game just to be in there.
Trav.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you good. That was on me.
Okay.
I'll pull up the comments on you.
Yeah, so that's what he was saying, that he would agree with Zach on that. But like Big Shot said, if I'm a beginner, like he said, and this game right here was everything. If you want to start off watching a game to learn, this was it. If you want to know why people don't have hair on their head, this is the game right here. You want to know how to score? This was the game right here. You want to know how to defend? This was the game right here. If you want to know how not to defend the game, Trent, this is the game right here.
Ederson.
That too. I mean, it's everything that you wanted. They tackling, they sliding up on each other. Close calls on saves, and Liverpool was a replay away of losing that game. But overall, the way to play, they played them well. And like I said before in the chats, I was like, the Man City, they're fast break. If it's 2-on-1, don't worry about it. They're gonna make something out of it. It's 2-on. If they got numbers, they're going to make something out of it. They're going to get the most shots. They're going to get the most attempts. They're going to make something out of it, especially on their breaks. But we stopped them when it was key. We made some key stops. But other than that, man, if Liverpool can change up some stuff defensively, Trent, if they can change up some stuff, Man City,
hold on, time out. I think they can change up. Segue away from that.
Yes.
You want to get rid of Trent?
No, I didn't say get rid of Trent. I said he need to change his way of defending.
Oh no, that's not going to happen. Trent is who Trent is. Like that's
he didn't change that crap, man.
Truthfully,
he was playing so far up. It was like they was picking on him.
Well, I mean that's what Trent is, though.
Before we continue, I want to say this. I'm over here wildly impressed right now, Trav, that you have picked this up this quick. And this is not even me being funny. I'm being absolutely serious, because you are right. They went over the top of Trent's head the entire first half.
They went. The 2 goals was over there. One of them, like I was telling Joe earlier, it's like they went ahead. Our players was up. They had 3 players behind, one snuck right behind the back end over the top goal. We got to be better than it. We got to know the personnel. We got to know who's in front of us. We got to know who's behind us. It should not be 3 or 4 players behind us and we're defending 2 people.
I'll let Joe get in on this, but real quick, like one, Trav, I agree with you, and this is my main complaint with TAA is that he is a winger that plays right back. He's brilliant up front. One of the most creative at distribution. His defense leaves a lot to be desired. And I know that pisses off a lot of Liverpool fans because he's their golden boy and everything, but like he is not the best English right back. He's not the second best English right back. If he can learn how to defend, which isn't going to happen, then that would be a different story. But that's just the knock on Trent is that he's too offensive for that position. Now, the thing that I will say, and I've said this about Manchester City time and time again, they, no matter who they play, no matter how good their opponent is, whatever game plan you have, it doesn't matter because Pep Guardiola and Manchester City are going to make you play their game.
Their game. That's exactly
every time. It is utterly impossible to do it, especially on a consistent basis. You have blips here and there, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Chelsea last year.
Chelsea,
than that,
the CL final is the only team I've seen get them completely out of what they want to do. Even when they lose matches, it's not because they get out of what they want to do. It's off day, whatever. But you're right. They get you into playing with doing what they want, what they want you to do.
Most of the time when they lose, it's due to a bad break. It's a bad ricochet where a ball falls at the feet of an attacker where it wasn't supposed to be there. A player slips. Every once in a while you have a balloon assignment, but for the majority of the time, Manchester City even loses on their terms.
Yeah,
and even if we go back to the Champions League final last year, I don't know if it was tactics. And Joe and I have talked about this ad nauseum. I think it might have been his lineup. His lineup choice, I think, really hurt him. So and this just reiterates the kudos that I have for Pep Guardiola and his impressiveness. And I'll be damned if I don't recognize KDB because that ginger-haired dude is just something else.
Joe,
I miss you. Come back home.
Joe, we talked
sir.
about, it was a 1-point lead for Man City. It's still a 1-point lead. I felt like at the end of the match that, and you tell me how you feel, I thought Man City probably left that match feeling better about the draw than Liverpool did. And the reason I say that is I think even a 1-point lead, which is slight, as long as City is ahead at this, they're okay. Coming out of the match, Joe, how do you feel about the draw, the match overall, and what was a classic?
Before I jump into that, I'm just going to say that I thoroughly enjoyed everything that y'all just said, especially Zachary. So
don't get used to it.
I was just enjoying the conversation. I didn't have to say a thing. And y'all hit some points that I had in the back of my mind. And Trav, like they said, killing it with picking up on what's going on with the soccer world, man. I love it. definitely was okay with a draw. I would have preferred a win. I think we should have should have won. And I think if you watch the game, I think I'm obviously a little biased, but I don't think you could watch that game and not think that City is not just a slight notch above Liverpool at this point. The way that they attacked Liverpool, like we said, going over the top, was not a tactic that they utilize very often. Most of the time, they keep the ball on the ground and they build from the back with short, intricate passing, keeping little triangles all over the field and hit longer through balls. But you don't see them hit longer balls over the top too often. But they obviously saw the weakness with Trent playing very, very high along the right side, which is why I think you saw Gabby and Raheem playing on the wings instead of Pep's more usual lineup that he's favored more, which was Mahrez and Grealish on the outside. But he played his little bit quicker players because I think they knew that was going to be a tactic that they were going to utilize in this particular game. So I felt like we probably should have won. That offside call was by the letter of the law, the correct one. But it's so skewed for the defender that he, like Raheem, your natural body motion is going to lean forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And the defender obviously is leaning the other direction. So it's like it was such a bang. Like you even looked on the replay when they showing the little line like that, and it drives me nuts. This isn't just Man City. I've told other people this too, that using a computer algorithm like that to make those kind of decisions doesn't always sit right with me. I like the human element a little bit.
Thank God for
and
replay.
Kudos to Liverpool players too, for the most part. I don't usually say that very often, but even in Man City players, because some of the more, shall we say, cynical and tactical fouls that were going on in the second half, normally from Liverpool, everybody kind of just patted each other on the back, and there was no like real animosity that could have led to it getting a little bit more out of control. I thought Thiago should have been out. He had 3 yellow cards that should have been called, and he only was booked for one of them, one of which he got the foul called on Kevin, and they got the free kick, which made absolutely no sense. And Fabinho.
Yeah, Fabinho.
He should have been out, because we've had this conversation in the group. And Julio has told me numerous times that studs up on an ankle like that is a red card every day of the week. In every corner of the world, on any pitch, it is a red card. But magically, it's just a yellow.
That's funny because
that drove me nuts. But it was just a fantastic game. I think we should have won. Obviously, that's how I'm going to feel as a City supporter. But it was just a fantastic match because both teams, nobody was going the last 15 minutes just setting up shop, trying to secure a point and be done with it. Both teams were going for the W. And that is something that I love watching. It's maddening sometimes as a City supporter, watching other teams just set up banks of 5. Looking at you, Atletico. We will talk about that a little bit. Banks of 5, just not playing football, just sitting there waiting, not for the whistle to be blown. So kudos to Liverpool for going for the win, not doing what most people do when they come into the Etihad and just sit back and chill.
Zach, we talked about the Modric pass to Rodrigo today. The second best pass for the last 2 days was Liverpool Man City. The De Bruyne pass to Mahrez at the end of which would have been the game winner, is an absolute beauty.
Silly.
Masterclass. Absolute masterclass.
Oh, he's got his back turn. He makes a half turn to his right and just in one motion, flip. And Mahrez, I don't know if he got stuck between whether he wanted to chip it or whether he wanted what happened, but the
was sublime. And one more thing on the lineup selection for Pep was Jesus was probably the biggest question mark, and people were saying, like, why did they select Jesus? Why isn't Mahrez starting? But Pep knows his players, and that was his 5th game in a row scoring against Liverpool. So he knew that Jesus has his has their number a little bit, has performed well against them in the past. So
I thought Gabby played phenomenal.
absolutely,
and you know me, I'm not a huge fan of his. I've never been shy about that, but I thought he played brilliant football in that match. So, hats off to him. And if I had to keep him or Mahrez, I would keep him. So
now we go with part 3 on Saturday. On Saturday, the FA Cup semifinal in London. It is Man City, Liverpool again. So I'm gonna make this rapid fire based on how both of your seasons are going. You've got you got this close race for the title. Liverpool with a chance to advance in the Champions League. When we come back next week, both of you are like deep in all these competitions. Whoever loses on Saturday, because this is knockout comp, somebody's gonna lose on Saturday. For both of you, Trav and Joe, are you okay with it if it means you win the league and or the Champions League?
I will trade an L on Saturday for hoisting the 2 more prestigious trophies for sure. No question about
it. The FA Cup is a bigger deal than some of these outlier cups. So, I definitely agree with Joe. If we're talking like the UCL, if the Champions League trophy is included in this, then yeah, that's a no-brainer, at least in my eyes as an outsider. But if it's between the league and the FA Cup, I think the FA Cup actually has some clout to it. It's the oldest tournament in
domestic
in all
tournament.
in all of football. So there's some weight behind this. So I'm curious to hear what Trav has to say about it. But if I'm as an outsider, I think Liverpool would be more okay with losing, as they've already won a trophy against Chelsea this year. So, but I'll let Trav take it from here.
Damn that, Zach. I want to win everything.
Yes.
I like it.
I mean, a cup is a cup. You win, you win. You play to lose and to get a particular title, or you want to get them all. I don't care if it's all the little leagues, but you're involved in it. I beat that team. That should hold something. I mean, I understand as far as like this one has more prestige of a winning cup than this one, but this is Man City you playing. You got to beat them. That's the clout itself. I mean, am I making any sense?
Absolutely.
No, all the sense.
Absolutely.
Yes, but however, let's and the only reason I'm gonna do this is because Liverpool puts a lot of onus on winning the league. Like that's always been their bugaboo, right?
Okay.
And other than their COVID season, I'm looking at their remaining fixtures, right? So both teams have games in the Champions League tomorrow, and you play each other both on the 16th this Saturday. City has an extra day of rest before their next match, and it's against Brighton. You, Trav, play on the 19th against Man United, who is fighting for a top 4 spot. So I know you never look ahead, right? Bullshit. Don't tell me that, because I'll call you a liar every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I don't think that the FA Cup is that important to Liverpool if I'm looking at the grand scheme of things, especially given the fact that they've already won the Carabao Cup. And I know the Carabao Cup is garbage compared to the FA Cup. But if you are truly trying to win the league, if you're truly trying to win the Champions League, that game on one less day of rest against Manchester United is a bigger deal.
Yeah. And I shook my head at you. The reason I shook my head, Zach, is not because of what you said. What you said was true. It's just that with the turn of events, aka Arsenal, Manchester United, for as horrific as they have been for the majority of the 2022 calendar year, Arsenal losing these last two has put them right back in the top four. They're in this now, despite trying to throw it away. So Liverpool, Man United on the 19th, a match that 3 weeks ago, I would have said, you know what, Liverpool probably rolled them because Manchester United's heart's not in. Now, all of a sudden, terrific as they've been, Manchester United beats Liverpool on next Tuesday. They are firmly in the top four conversation with Spurs.
In history, those two are bigger rivals than Man City and United, and currently Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
And that traditionally is the biggest rivalry in England, even with City's recent inclusion into those two fours. But like long term, that's the match. So you know every United supporter is going to be fired up. I would hope that the rest of them United players will have show a little more pride than they have recently.
They will play hard. They will play hard, even if they was in last place, just because it's one of those games.
That's what I would hope. Especially
that's what you hope.
Especially in my current situation, with y'all draft points would be a big help. So and led further down the table, Liverpool probably had between the two teams that with in the Premier League left, that Liverpool have the toughest fixture remaining between the two teams, which is the Tottenham game, especially with how well Tottenham has been playing recently.
You're talking between City and Liverpool, right?
And Liverpool, for the last Premier League games that they both teams had.
Yeah.
That Tottenham one might be the.
You guys go to West London though. You guys got to play West Ham in West London.
Yep. That's our biggest test.
That's your biggest match left. Although you also have a Wolves match to make up as well. But so do they. That Tottenham match is going to be a big deal. The West Ham match is going to be a big deal. I guess it depends on where both of those teams are in the table. Tottenham actually is in a bad position because they have one less game remaining than the majority of the teams, and like two less remaining than the team directly in front of them, Chelsea. So, and they're 5 points behind Chelsea already. So that race for the top four is really interesting. Arsenal has a fixture nightmare.
It's
these next 4 weeks.
And
they got
and we gave away. I'm not a big believer in games in hand or whatever, but when we lost to Brighton and we lost back to back to Crystal Palace and Brighton, that erased that. That's out the. So we play Southampton on Saturday, and then I don't know the order exactly, but I do know it's Liverpool. It's Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea are like the next three. And
you don't play Liverpool again. It's Southampton. You play Southampton. Then 4 days later, you go to Chelsea. 3 days after that, you're home versus United, and then you go to West London and play West Ham.
Yeah,
right after that.
That's 3. I'll tell you this. I'll clip this up. If we don't beat Southampton on Saturday, it's over.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair because you have a match against Tottenham. You got to go to Tottenham as well.
Right. and this Arsenal team has not shown. Arsenal is the Bulls of the Premier League. They haven't shown they can beat anybody good all year. They got handled twice by Liverpool and once in the cup. Chelsea handled us the beginning of the year. City's beat us twice. I don't see where they go and beat Chelsea, West Ham, Tottenham, and even a bad Man United team. So this last 6-7 weeks of the Premier League is going to get interesting. And for Joe and Trav, with the extras of the FA Cup, a possible Champions League final meeting between the two of them, it's a great time right
I'll be
now.
very curious Saturday morning to see what kind of lineups both teams put out there, because I think that'll tell a lot about who's going for what, because usually both teams stick with their backup keepers run all the way through the cup competitions up until maybe the final. So I'd be very curious to see if Ederson and Allison are between the sticks, or if it's Zach, Stefan, and I can't remember Liverpool's backup keeper. But
Kelleher.
So I'll be curious to see that, and then see if there's any changes tactically with who they put out in their lineups, because usually Liverpool's lineup essentially picks itself for the most part, but City usually has sprinkles here and there with who Pep chooses to play in that front three. So we shall see. I'll be anxiously waiting. I'll be at the bar watching that one, and I'll be watching tomorrow down in DC with the Capital City Blues that were on the Manchester City official social media pages this week with their reaction from the KDB goal. So you might, this next two games, if I get rowdy enough, y'all might see me.
We might
out on that Man City Facebook page. So
not to rain on your parade, Joe, but I want to ask a question to the group, and it's something that I saw a former Premier League player, former World Cup player comment on, and I want to get everyone's opinion. It affects Trav a little bit more than others because it's one of Trav's players. But the comment, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that Virgil van Dijk is lucky that he's playing in the era that he plays now, and he doesn't have to face strikers such as Drogba, Henry, like a Diego Costa, like those physical upfront strikers. And essentially he was saying that Virgil van Dijk, if you take away his height, is nothing more than an average center back.
Listen,
I can go first because I got thoughts.
Go.
First thought.
Yes.
First thought. He did a fantastic job manhandling Sterling when he needed to. He's done that numerous times with Raheem where they have gotten into it in the past. I have yet to see him have that kind of dominance against somebody his own size. So he does a fantastic job doing what he does. He's a very good reader of the game. He knows how to position himself well. So first thought, he does well picking on the little guys. Second thought, same time this year, next year, when a certain striker may or may not be joining the Sky Blue.
Oh, God, here we fucking go.
There will not be any more of this just pushing people out the way. He's going to have a dude his own size and is faster than him running down his throat, and there will be a very different result. Those are Joe's 2 cents.
I think it's also, I never shade the player for when he's born. He plays in an era where, which I kind of miss, where you don't have many great center forwards. You just don't have it. Like, you got Benzema, Lewandowski, and maybe Harry Kane. And that's about it. But I would say this. having seen Virgil van Dijk play, trust me, there are very few strikers who would give him real problems from back there. I think to me, his combination of height, his balance, I'm not saying Drogba and Henry they would give him trouble, but to think that he would be lost against them, no.
Pre-injury too, I think it's different because before his speed was a little bit better. He was a little more mobile than when he had that knee injury. Now he is not as fluid, I would say, out there. So the kind of the pre-injury VVD, I definitely agree with you on that.
I don't think that the comment was meant as like a slam against him personally. More is along the lines of kind of what you were saying, Joe. Virgil has done an excellent job at containing small players, because the one thing that he does almost better than anybody, and the only center back that I see that does this on a consistent basis other than him is Antonio Rudiger, is their perception to read the ball. And I'm talking just in the Premier League, not out wide. They read the ball very, very quickly, and they are right in the back of that quick, smaller player before that player has a chance to make that turn. I think the comment was derived along the facts that Henry, although he was small, was very physical. Drogba was a very dominating presence. Diego Costa was a very dominating presence. He's strong. Even some of the midfielders from that era, Vieira, Lampard, Gerrard, they were much bigger than what you see today. And I think that if we saw something like that, then, VVD may not be quote unquote as dominant as what he is. But like you said, Ronnie, like I can't fault the man for when he was born. Like that's not his fault.
Out of his control.
Right. The comment was really, really interesting, and it kind of piqued my interest because then it got the wheels turning, and I was like, okay.
It's definitely
the first
something
thing
that we
I thought
should
of was,
it's definitely something we should look at how the game. We did our show about the position,
mm-hmm.
and I think of all the position, I think almost every position in football now, guys are asked to do things now that they weren't. It's just a completely different game. Like fullbacks are attackers essentially now that they didn't do then. Like there's no more like pure strikers. There's almost none. There's almost no, and Zach would know this, number 10s. There almost are none of those.
They are non-existent.
The game is just played so differently now than what it was even 10 years ago. It's played completely differently. Well, fellas, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I wish there were more Atletico fans in the group so I could talk some shit to them.
Listen, okay. This is my thought. Here's my thought.
Whack.
I'm not rooting for Man City because Joe is my guy. I'm rooting for Man City because I don't like watching ugly football. And Atletico is the definition of ugly. It's so awful to watch.
It's sad that it's so successful.
And it so works. That's the best.
It's so ugly it works.
Especially if they can get a player that can counterattack better than João Felix. You want to talk about a man out of his element. João Felix needs to leave Atletico because he's not suited for that style.
Felix.
Yeah, he's not suited for that
transfer
that
just
team.
Never made sense ever.
Mm-hmm. But if they can get a number 9 that is quick and can counterattack with while the remaining 10 players play inside the 18,
on their half of the pitch.
Yeah,
then they'll be a little bit better. But That, like Joe said, that Joe Felix transfer just doesn't never fit for me.
Yeah, Joe, I need y'all to put 2 goals on them quick so we can get them out of here. Because this is
instantly. I hope we put 4 past them. We probably won't. They're going to sit back there with 5 dudes right in front of their goalie, and then another 3 or 4 dudes right in front of them. So, and they just are definition of shithousery.
They do it. They
nuisance. Like the end of that game last week was just Madrid. Oh my god, I was so mad. Oh, he did.
Every time I watch them, I swear their entire coaching staff gets a yellow card. Every time. It's unreal. It is absurd.
Trav, they are heel activity.
I can hear
100%.
I can
heel activity.
I can hear it. I can hear it in your comments.
If J Ham was a football team,
this is his team.
Yeah, that is J Ham. Heel activity at its finest.
Oh my god.
So we will be back probably next Tuesday with Champions League semifinal preview. We will have an FA. We will have another installment of the next drama in the Premier League. Hey, we getting down to the end of it. Stay tuned with us. Stoppage Time FC, Trav, Zach, Joe, Scene family. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, like,